जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी 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 जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी 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 यशोदनन्दन गिरिजन रञ्जन यशोदनन्दन गिरिजन रञ्जन यशोदनन्दन गिरिजन रञ्जन यशोदनन्दन गिरिजन रञ्जन यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधे जय राधा माधव राधे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर श्री राधे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर श्री राधे जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Grandhraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for coming to encourage me. I seek all of your blessings present here and my spiritual master and mentor for me to be able to speak something on this beautiful section of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is very, very dear and connected to my heart. I seek all the Vaishnava's blessings for me to take this message deeply and apply so it can please Guru and Krishna. Thank you so much. We'll start with the Srimad Bhagavatam glorification. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satvala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Dritpadha Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kali Dvantvodita Ditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostute Madeka Bantu Matsangin Maturu Manmahadana Manishtaraka Madbhagya Madananda Namostute Asadu Sadhu Tadayin Ati Nichoshatakara Hanamuncha Kadachimam Premna Hritkanthayospura Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udhiraye Shushrushoshritadhanasya Vasudeva Kadharuchi Syam Mahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirthani Shevanat Shrivatam Swakadha Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Hridayaktastohya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Tadha Rajastamo Bhava Kamalobhadayaschaye Cheta Etar Anavidam Stitam Sattve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridayagrandhi Shidyante Sarva Samshaya Shriyante Jasya Karmani Trishta Evatmanishvare. So we are reading Canto 1, Chapter 5, texts 1 to 4. We discussed yesterday. Today we'll start with it. We'll cover texts 5 to 7 today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Text 5, Chapter 5, Canto 1. Vyasa Uvacha.
Vyasa Uvacha.
Astyeva me sarvamidam tvayoktam.
Astyeva me
sarvamidam tvayoktam. Tathapi natma paritushyate me.
Tathapi natma paritushyate me.
Tanmoolam avyaktam agadha bodham.
Tanmoolam avyaktam agadha bodham.
Prichamahe tvatma bhavatma bhutam.
Prichamahe tvatma bhavatma bhutam.
Astyeva me sarvamidam tvayoktam.
Astyeva me sarvamidam tvayoktam.
Tathapi natma paritushyate me.
Tathapi natma paritushyate me.
Tanmoolam avyaktam agadha bodham.
Tanmoolam avyaktam agadha bodham.
Prichamahe tvatma bhavatma bhutam.
पृच्छामहे तवात्मभवात्मभूतम्
Prabhuji.
अस्त्येव मे सर्वमिदं त्वयोक्तम्
अस्त्येव मे सर्वमिदं त्वयोक्तम्
तदापि नात्मा परितुष्यते मे
तथापि नात्मा परितुष्यते मे
तन्मूलमव्यक्तमगाधबोधम्
तन्मूलमव्यक्तमगाधबोधम्
पृच्छामहे त्वात्मभवात्मभूतम्
पृच्छामहे त्वात्मभवात्मभूतम्
व्यास उवाच
व्यास उवाच
अस्त्वेवमेव सर्वमिदं त्वयोक्तम्
अस्त्येव मे सर्वमिदं त्वयोक्तम्
तथापि नात्मा परितुष्यते मे
तथापि नात्मा परितुष्यते मे
तन्मूलमव्यक्तमगाधबोधम्
तन्मूलमव्यक्तमगाधबोधम्
पृच्छामहे त्वत्मभवात्मभूतम्
पृच्छामहे त्वात्मभवात्मभूतम् माताजी व्यास उवाच अस्त्येव मे सर्वमिदं त्वयोक्तम् तथापि नात्मा परितुष्यते मे तन्मूलमव्यक्तमगाधबोधम् पृच्छामहे त्वात्मभवात्मभूतम्
व्यास उवाच
व्यास उवाच
अस्त एव मे सर्वम् इदं त्वयोक्तम्
अस्त्येव मे सर्वमिदं त्वयोक्तम्
तथापि नात्मा परितुष्यते मे
तथापि नात्मा परितुष्यते मे
तन्मूलम् अव्यक्तमगाधबोधम्
तन्मूलमव्यक्तमगाधबोधम्
पृच्छामहे त्वात्मभवात्मभूतम्
पृच्छामहे त्वात्मभवात्मभूतम् Word to word. Vyasa
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 Uvacha
Uvacha
said
said
Asti
Asti
there
there
is
is
Eva
Eva
certainly
certainly
May mine Sarvam
Sarvam
all Idam this Dvaya by you Uktam uttered Tathapi and yet na not Atma self Paritushyate does pacify may unto me Tat of which Moolam root Avyaktam undetected Agadabodham the man of unlimited knowledge Richamahe do inquire Tva unto you Atma Bhava self-born Atma Bhava Atma Bhutam offspring Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Vyasadeva said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified. I therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction. For you are a man of unlimited knowledge due to your being the offspring of one, Brahma, who is self-born without mundane father and mother. Purport. In the material world, everyone is engrossed with the idea of identifying the body or the mind with the self. As such, all knowledge disseminated in the material world is related either with the body or with the mind, and that is the root cause of all despondencies. This is not always detected, even though one may be the greatest erudite scholar in materialistic knowledge. It is good, therefore, to approach a personality like Narada to solve the root cause of all despondencies. Why Narada should be approached is explained below. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much once again. Kindly give all of your blessings so this time can be useful for me, you, and so we all can be engaged in this service of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is very, very pleasing to Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, particularly as we are in this mood of preparing for Gaura Purnima. Let's keep that in the back of our mind. How Lord Chaitanya so eagerly wanted all of us to understand this knowledge and really experience that bliss. And as I was going through this section, preparing for this class, it was so touching for the heart how Vyasadeva is exemplifying this mood of humility and sincerity in approaching the spiritual master, giving us a direction to follow in his footsteps. So this particular verse is very, very important, which actually Vyasadeva has been feeling despondent, as we were hearing from the last verses of 4th chapter and the last four verses, 1 to 4 of chapter 5. Narada Muni came and he was smiling because he already knew the cause, but he's glorifying Vyasadeva and saying, oh, you have knowledge, you have done transcendental realization, you have done this monumental work, and why you have to be dissatisfied? So he's asking all these questions so Vyasadeva can go deeper and really try to connect to the matter, what Narada Muni is going to give. So this particular verse, it indicates how Vyasadeva is approaching Narada Muni, that mood and the importance of it. That is what we can understand. And this is also a very important verse for the purport that Srila Prabhupada gave. It's a very short purport, but I was feeling it's kind of summarizing everything, whatever is needed for human life. As we understand, the goal of human life is self-realization, and how do we get that? So this is really the essence, so beautifully. I mean, even the choice of words is so nice. Apparently, Narada Muni will be giving the reason few verses later, but Prabhupada is so eager and so compassionate, he wanted to give it away. So he's writing in this purport itself. This is something we all can appreciate in Prabhupada books. How, I have heard in the very beginning in one of the class, even if we read one page or one verse purport of Srila Prabhupada, that is enough for us to go back to Godhead, if we can really take that matter into our hearts and follow that, apply that. So in that sense, even this page 239, whatever, in this Srimad Bhagavata first canto, if we are really able to understand what Prabhupada is telling us here, it would really help us to progress. In the material world, everyone is engrossed with the idea of identifying the body or the mind with the self. As such, all knowledge disseminated in the material world is related either with the body or with the mind, and that is the root cause of all despondencies. We can see from our own experience how, in spite of getting all the knowledge and getting all the facilities and this and that, whatever, still there is that kind of pinprick. I mean, we all could relate. That was one thing I have heard with many devotees, how they come to Krishna consciousness. Apparently, according to material standards, we have everything in our life, but still there is something missing. And we don't really know what is that missing. And in this word-to-word translation, Vyasadeva is asking in the verse, Moolam avyaktam, the root avyaktam, undetected, in spite of his scholarly knowledge, in spite of understanding the Brahman and glorifying, still he is not able to understand that. So that is one thing we have to really understand when we see how we have to connect to that feeling. Vyasadeva is actually able to connect to that feeling, like he is feeling that. But sometimes, last week, Shatrupa Mataji's class, she was saying, we all have some kind of dissatisfaction, some kind of despondency. We all have this eagerness and sincere desire. I really want to serve Krishna. I really want to, we are all serving in whatever capacity, but there is that aspect where, at least I can speak for myself, I have to really go a little deeper into that. I have to serve a little more. My capacity is there, but somehow being engrossed in the material affairs, this, that, everything, I'm not able to give my best to Krishna. I'm not able to give best to this Srila Prabhupada's mission. So that is there. But most of the times what happens is, it's okay, I'm doing. It's been 5 years, I'm actually chanting and doing this service, that service, that's okay, fine, I can keep going. Everyone is going, so I'll also keep going. So we try to kind of shut off that inner voice, and we don't really connect to that. But Vyasadeva is so exemplifying here how important it is to connect to our deeper feelings and to our heart. And while preparing this class, this thought came, we are trying to practice Krishna consciousness. It's the consciousness, it's not externals as we keep hearing. So it's really very important for us to connect to that consciousness, to connect to that inner feelings. And what happens when we connect, it can propel us to take some action for it. If we don't even connect, we think, okay, we're doing okay, fine, we'll just keep going. There's nothing I need to do more. And that's where the progress will be checked. And the other aspect, which is very nice, Srila Vyasadeva is saying here, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified. We can understand the position of Srila Vyasadeva, the kind of work that he has done, and we have been discussing how much he has done and the kind of knowledge that he has. He doesn't have anything lacking in one sense, if you see. Any of us, if we get to that kind of position, we say our life is more than successful. But in spite of it, he is actually expressing, he is feeling that, he is connecting with that, and he is openly sharing that. That acceptance needs lots and lots of humility, like being able to come to the spiritual master and say, Guru Maharaj, I'm trying, but still this is there. I can see that light. Can you please help me? It needs lots of humility. We want to say, okay, this is going good, that's going good. Yes, Maharaj, I'm following this, I'm following that. Yeah, I'm happy, I'm doing good in my spiritual life. But really be able to come up and seek that kind of guidance, it needs a lot of humility. And there has to be that kind of sincere desire. And I was hearing this class where Mataji was explaining this so beautifully. Unless we have that sincere mood of inquiry, the spiritual master won't reveal. Because we are not ready for the deeper answers, we are not asking the deeper questions. So then he may not give those answers because we are not in a position to receive that. But this is something when we have such kind of sincerity in our heart and really wanting to approach, then spiritual master will be very pleased. And we can even see that in this example. I mean, for our case, for our case, we have to go and approach the spiritual master. Of course, spiritual master also visits in our life in many ways. But here particularly, Vyasadeva is feeling that he has a genuine desire, that sincere feeling that, why is this? I want to really know, I want to really go beyond this. And then spiritual master comes into his life. I mean, Narada-muni, he can appear anywhere and everywhere. But that is something we can understand, how that sincere desire, it can please the spiritual master, it can please Krishna. And they will arrange in such a beautiful way that for us to really go beyond that, we cannot do on our own. And I was connecting to this Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, very similar section. And yesterday, Vrindavan Prabhu was quoting this verse, how it's so connecting, how Narada-muni was responding to Vyasadeva and how Krishna responded to Arjuna. Here, 2.7 and 2.8 famous verses, it's a similar mood. I'll just read the translation. 2.7. Now I'm confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I'm your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Just the first paragraph of this beautiful purport. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire and yet it takes place and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. And 2.8, Arjuna is saying, I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master, Lord Sri Krishna. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence. And it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Krishna. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc. are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is a bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. So it's really so nice to connect to these past tense in different scriptures, and how Prabhupada is, especially in the purports, writing this most essential teaching of Krishna consciousness or spiritual life itself, how we need to approach a spiritual master, and whatever we do, we cannot solve those problems on our own. And similar thing was coming. I was just hearing Shadrupa Mataji was reading this Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya-lila, inspired by everyday reading program, inspired by Vamshidhari Prabhu. And in that Madhya-lila, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they are approaching Lord Chaitanya, and their mood is very similar to what we are seeing here. Vyasadeva, in spite of being scholarly, he is going and saying, I don't know anything, please help me. I just cannot solve it on my own. I cannot even know what it is. And then Sanatana Goswami's this famous statement, Keami, who am I? He is being in such a elevated position, and it's also described particularly about Sanatana Goswami, how everyone likes him so much because he is so compassionate. He is not only in terms of knowledge or wealth, but in terms of connecting to people also. He is such a well qualified and well situated person. And he approaches Lord Chaitanya, both of them, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, say, we don't have any other way to go. We don't know who are we, what are we supposed to do. Please help us. So, and then Lord Chaitanya's heart, I mean, it was so beautiful just hearing those verses. He says, it's hurting my heart to see you guys like this. You are my eternal servants. He is so pleased. He wants to help them. He is like, I came to Amrta-keli for this only reason, to meet you both brothers. Everybody is asking, why did you come to Amrta-keli? What is there? Why are you going there for the, yatras? And he is disclosing that to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. I don't have any other purpose of coming here except for meeting you both. So we can actually take, I mean, they are very, very elevated people for sure. But when we hear these past tense, it can actually touch our hearts in a deeper way. And we can really take that and then apply in our life in whatever capacity. When we are with the spiritual master, have this genuine mood. I have got this opportunity. I have got such a spiritual master. It's not easy. I mean, I was just hearing the other day, I think Prabhupada's lecture, he was saying this verse. Every birth we will have mom and dad, like Mata Pita, Sabha Janma Pai, I forgot the Bengali exactly. But we don't get Guru and Krishna in every life. But we are, I mean, super fortunate to have such a person in our life, and here we are seeing how the qualification of spiritual master is, and we have got that fortunate opportunity to have such a spiritual master in our life. So not only in their physical presence, but even when we are hearing from them or when we are serving through many different services or personal services, if we can have this kind of mood, I genuinely want to come out of my despondency. I genuinely want to experience this bliss that Krishna and Lord Chaitanya wants me to experience. And definitely spiritual master will be so pleased, and we hear just spiritual master pleasure is everything. We can get all kinds of success in spiritual life. And I mean, so much more can be said about this verse. So that's really something which I was very, very inspired. And the other thing which I was also thinking about this, in spite of all kinds of knowledge, everything, Vyasadeva is not satisfied. And I really love this statement from Ishopanishad Invocation and Bhagavad Gita Introduction. all forms of incomplete knowledge are experienced due to the incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. So, in spite of whatever knowledge we have, it tends to be incomplete unless it's directed to the complete knowledge of the complete whole. And that will actually take us to the next verse, which says that how the complete knowledge of the complete whole can make us complete. Text 6. I'll just recite this. Savai bhavan veda samasta guhyam upasito yat purusha purana paravaresho manasaiva vishvam shujatyavatyatti gunair asanga. My Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you because you worship the creator and destroyer of the material world and the maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. A person who is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord is the emblem of all knowledge. Such a devotee of the Lord in full perfection of devotional service is also perfect by the qualification of the personality of Godhead. As such, the eightfold perfections of mystic power, Ashtasiddhi, constitute very little of his godly opulence. A devotee like Narada can act wonderfully by his spiritual perfection, which every individual is trying to attain. Srila Narada is a 100% perfect living being, although not equal to the personality of Godhead. So this purport is actually saying how one knows whatever to be known just by the connection of the Lord. And when that direct glorification is not there, whatever knowledge is there, it's of no use. So just in this connection, we have this Bhagavad Gita 15 verse, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishto. And in that, Krishna says, I am the source of all knowledge, and through all this knowledge, I am to be known. So unless we have that single focus of knowing Krishna, whatever we have, we cannot be satisfied. That we are clearly seeing from this Vyasadeva's example. And on the other side of that verse, Vyasadeva is glorifying here Narada Muni that you know everything, so please tell me. Why he knows everything? Because you worship such a person as who is maintaining this spiritual and material worlds. That is why you know that. So he is very clear to understand what is the position of Narada here. And he also knows that one who is in full knowledge of Krishna is aware of everything. As we can see from this example of South Indian Brahmana, who is not so-called literate, but just by looking at the Bhagavad Gita cover, his heart is so full of feelings for Krishna that you're so kind and compassionate that you became a chariot driver for your devotee. Such a kind of person, I mean, where can I find such a kind of person here in my life? So he was so moved by that, and he is having tears in his eyes, but he is actually holding the book upside down and then trying to read because he cannot read, he is illiterate. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so moved and touched by that Brahmana, and he embraced him and said, you are the best scholar. Because that is the real knowledge we have to possess. It's so beautiful. I'm so enlivened just by hearing various pastimes. It's so deeply connecting that message. Okay, Krishna is the goal. You have to know Krishna, and Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema is the essence of all religions, all dharmas. But here, through these pastimes and through these wonderful personalities, that's coming into life. That message, that philosophy, it's coming so nicely into life that we can really take up. I mean, it is possible. It is, even we can practice because there is some examples that we can follow. So that's something we have to really understand. And also this verse is there in 5th canto. It's a famous verse that Srila Prabhupada quotes about the devotees' qualities versus the so-called good qualities in other people. यस्यास्ति भक्तिर्भगवत्य किञ्चन सर्वैर्गुणैस्तत्र समासते सुरा हरावभक्तस्य कुतो महद्गुणा मनोरथेना सति धावतो बहिः. So one who is a devotee, all good qualities and demigods reside in them just because of the devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas the other people, even though we see some people with good qualities and mode of goodness, whatever it is, because it's all on the mental platform, once something happens, something agitates, that's all, everything is gone. I mean, we talk about some people, oh, they're so peaceful, so nice, whatever, and if we go home and then kid doesn't do homework or something, then the real thing comes up. And so that is what, from this verse we can really understand how just by the devotion that potency comes, so much of that qualification comes. And I was also thinking of the devotees here. It's not easy. I mean, easy in the sense the deity worship, what happened for the last 6 to 7 weeks, it is really a stretch for most of the devotees. But it's really this genuine desire in the hearts. I really want to do that. Yes, it's a stretch, whatever it is. But I have got this opportunity, so I want to do this. And just with the desire, Krishna and Guru and all the devotees' blessings, it's just so wonderfully manifested. And sorry. Yeah. So I was just thinking about that. In a sense, superhuman qualifications of the devotees, how it's inspired by Guru and Krishna. So that is something Vyasdeva is quoting here, and he is also understanding Narada's position. He is approaching Narada, knowing that Narada can really give that reason. And the next verse, would you like to stop here, Prabhu? Sorry. So the next verse, he is further glorifying Narada Muni's position. Tvam paryatanya kaiva trilokim antascharo vayurivatma sakshi paravare brahmani dharmato vratai snatasya menyunamalam vichachva. Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the 3 worlds, and like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as an all-pervasive super soul. Please, therefore, find out the deficiency in me, despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulations and vows. Purport. Transcendental realization, pious activities, worshipping the deities, charity, mercifulness, non-violence, and studying the scriptures under strict disciplinary regulations are always helpful. So in this verse, Vyasadeva is further glorifying Narada's position because of his connection to Krishna, the potency that he has got. He can travel anywhere, everywhere in the 3 worlds without any problems, and right away he can appear at the right time, right moment, when the devotees are seeking such guidance. We can see many examples where Narada Muni appears like that, and then so beautifully the situation turns to Krishna from whatever situation. And another point that I was thinking of in this thing, like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. So Vyasadeva is saying you can actually go and penetrate deep into the hearts of the devotees. So you really know the reason. So please help me and share me the reason why I am dissatisfied. So the similar thing comes in 2nd chapter, 2nd verse of 1st canto, where Suta Goswami is offering prayers to Shukadeva Goswami, and he says, Tam Sarva Bhuta Hridayam Muni Manatosmi. Sarva Bhuta Hridayam. So he is such a person, he is in the heart of all the living beings. So from both these verses we can understand this, how spiritual master can really see through our heart. And I have heard from some of the devotees, like when they approach the spiritual master, they feel like, oh, it's like, from Prabhupada's example also, it's like an X-ray, they can see everything in me. I feel like, it's they have that kind of vision. So they have that capacity to go into our hearts and really understand what we are really going through. So that can actually help us to go to them with that kind of open heart. We don't have to hide anything because anyway they know. Whether we tell them or not, they anyway know. So it's better to go with that kind of openness to really open up and receive. So that can help us moving forward. So this whole section summarizing Vyasadeva's humility and his connection and his genuine desire to go forward, and he's approaching the right person, the importance of approaching a spiritual master for the spiritual life, how critical it is and how we have to follow in his examples. And the whole thing is my spiritual master, His Holiness Ramapad Swami Maharaj, whenever we ask these how-to questions, he has shared this many times. Accepting that I have a problem is very, very important. It needs lots of humility and sincerity, but that is very good. Why? Because when we understand and know that we have a problem, 50% of the problem is solved. Because that's where most of the time we are stuck, that I'm doing okay, it's fine, whatever. But once we know there is something, then it can motivate us to go beyond to really solve the problem, to approach the right person, seek the guidance, and try to apply. So that's what I got from this section. Thank you so much for patiently hearing. We have about 7 minutes if you can share your inspirations or any comments, corrections. Please, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I mean, it was such a call to look into ourselves and see whether you have that connection with your spiritual master, whether you have shared the despondency with him, how many things you keep under the rug, this will become okay in course of time. Even though I've got so many gray hairs, only still I think it will become okay during course of time. So this is Vyasadeva himself. He is speaking such words of humility, and after doing such monumental tasks, as you have said. So what insignificant souls we are, and still we cannot open up to our spiritual master, and approach him after knowing him for so many years, and he is so very compassionate. Still, this will be okay. As time goes on, it will resolve. Thank you very much for giving that feeling, that very worthwhile being in this class. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the wonderful class. Actually, I'm so glad I came. So I feel like I could relate on a lot of the things you shared, and just like how Mataji shared that it's helping me look deeper. Everything feels, just like you said, that the material life is comfortable and the spiritual life is on this side, and you're like, yeah, it's fine, I can just, keep on going. But this inquiry part, I really feel like it lacks in me. And I was wondering if you can shed some light on how to be, maybe how to, I know your whole class was how to, inquire from your spiritual master, but maybe the humility or the acceptance is not there, so the inquiry is not coming out naturally. So if you can maybe share on how I can progress or go towards those,
Sheila, would you like to share?
today. You want to see Krishna so badly?
No, stagnation is not working, so I was telling you.
Would you like to share something for Mataji's?
Actually, I was going to ask you something, maybe it can collaborate in its relation. Basically, like you made a point initially that, most of us either we tug the feelings. Actually, I was also thinking, we can also lose to be present, thinking I need to do my best, I need to do more, I need to do more also. That's one thought I was having. So the inquiry, like based on the whole discussion, you quoted from Bhagavad Gita, Ishopanishad, especially the statement that says feeling of incompleteness is due to the incomplete knowledge of the absolute whole. So, the lesson that is coming to me, or maybe it's in relation to what Mother is saying, is you feeling despondent or you feeling grief, it is our responsibility. And the inquiry is, we are clear, I'm feeling this thing because of not having the proper knowledge of putting it clearly, like all conflicting nature of the Lord. So my inquiry is, my dear spiritual master, I would like to grow in that. Is that a right summary of the whole?
Yes, Prabhu, very much.
Yeah. So that's what my clarification thought to ask you also. So
thank you. You're looking for anything more practical?
So you're just saying, just ask your spiritual master honestly, like, how can I grow? Like, or have that
basically, like spiritual life, basically starts with inquiry, right? Actually, human life starts with inquiry, and the spiritual life is more of a proper inquiry, like and then the thing I'm getting from the discussion is, we need to be present with our own feelings and whatever we are going through. We can always say the other person is responsible. Other thing is, it's adhyatmika, bhautika, direct clashes. But, is there a room for us to, us to know more about, are we realizing the benedict nature of the Lord? Maybe not at this stage for us. So, we need to be inquired, we need to be open, like, basically the inquiry Prabhupada always says is, everyone is inquiring something every day. And he quotes the birds looking for food and people looking for stock market and all these things. So basically, step back and come to the reality, and then things will unfold. Inquiry, you don't necessarily need to go and ask, because spiritual mastery is representative of the Lord. So if there is something pretty not clear, then we can go and ask. But spiritual master is powerful to educate us. Basically, like I'm more connecting with self-realization. Krishna consciousness, as she was sharing. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Then ask.
Prabhu, would you like to share something? Yeah, maybe just one more minute, I think.
I was thinking to maybe three things. I don't know how much time, but one was, even if you think deeper, as you said, Krishna, I want this answer. I don't know, I don't understand anything anyway. So the messenger is a spiritual master as a manifestation of Krishna. So, he will actually come. How he comes, I have one pastime, if it is okay for you to tell. One of the, His Holiness Japatak Maharaj was traveling in a car, and then they were actually in a hurry to reach somewhere. But Maharaj immediately told, there is a flower, I think there is a flower and fruit shop, just stop there. Everybody looked at it, Maharaj, just stop there. And then they went and said, do you need to buy some fruits? No, just stop there and we'll buy something. Actually, some of the devotees were very inspired to meet Japadak Maharaj for a long time. They had something in the desire to even meet him. And Maharaj just went there and they were right there and they met. So what I thought, relating to this, Vasudev had something in his heart, and Narada Muni had his darshan, gave his darshan. So the first thing is, do you go deeper in that? Number one. Enquiry comes next. But do we have that intention? Do we have that feeling for it? Is most important. And once it comes, then of course, spiritual mastering, instructs us. End of the day, service. Saman bonam is service. And coming to your point, I don't have that inquiry. Even I had the same thing. Then I realized why I am not getting any inquiries. If you hear more and read more, start at least reading, then you will get the questions. Otherwise, you don't even know. We don't even know what to ask.
Yeah, right.
So start reading and start hearing. Then it will kickstart. Correct.
Thank you. Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Grandra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.